libation today. We're going to do, we're going to pour libations to the Congo rice. The Congo rice, you know, comes from Congo, Africa. The Congo in Africa, and that can be several places where the Congo is so-called situated, you know, compared to ancient times and now. But anyway, we talk about mysteries that go back millions of years. And that's what we're going to deal with all types of alternative thoughts and alternative history. But before we do that, what we're going to do is we're going to put the libations to that. And in so many words, we just they don't need a lot of water, food, or drink and all. They just need your energy. So the key one is Zarabanda. And these are very powerful ones here. You know, I'm talking about very powerful ones. Did I give you this last time? The Congo rights? Did I?
I think so.
Did you ever use them? I'm just saying, you know, I'm just saying because what this is.
I've been using a lot of stuff.
Very powerful energy, and I'll explain what this thing is in a few minutes. But this is the type of force you're going to need to align yourself up with, as well as financially. And I'll explain something too, basically how you deal with the finance thing, because I know that that's one on everybody's mind. I was able to escape it for 9 years and all, and I ended up wondering where I'm going to eat every 2-3 days. But what it is there's a way that this thing is actually done to actually get you what you want. And I'll start with that right after we go to the actual Congo rights. I'm going to get a few other ones. This is a few other ones. This stuff is not mentioned at all. Basically, the government wants this type of stuff here. Really shut up. You will hear more of your Yoruba deities and stuff, but what happens here is when you have a couple of million, when you have millions of people calling the names, the energy kind of gets saturated. You got 5 million white practitioners in the Yoruba thing, period, in the United States. That's not including the whole Caribbean and the whole Latin America. You see, so you're talking about one of the fastest growing religions, what they call, some people say way of life, or basically what's left of it in the world. Now the thing about it is when in these systems, when you have millions of people calling on them, it saturates the actual energy. To the point it saturates the actual energy. Plus these systems are not necessarily meant for entities that's outside of you, like you have in Christianity or something like that, where you have these things, this thing that's someplace all up in the air somewhere, this spook type thing. This was components of your own energy that you was actually harnessing or actually making manifest. And so there was an educated system on how the Africans used to do this, and this is separated from ancient Africa, how it was done based on what you have in modern day Africa. Everything you must understand is the whole argument on what is pure is ludicrous. We talk millions of years, literally. Everything is in fragments. Now the European says, well look, we got all these people here arguing over different types of culture, the Yoruba, the Igbo, the Hausa, ancient Egyptian, ancient Camite, ancient, the Arabic, either esoteric or exoteric when we talk this particular stuff. We got all these black people in the culture, and also later day cultures, which is not necessarily European, but then again later day cultures like the Arabs and other people and all, even your Asians compared to how ancient we are. And the Europeans looking at it saying, they're all arguing based on culture and customs, and they understand that all this stuff is fragmented. So they say, well listen, what we'll do is we'll sit back and we'll let them be separated in this sectarian way, and basically we'll use it all. So the key here, the mystery now here is, they say nothing is true, all is permitted. So how you actually go about doing this is you put all this stuff together that works. And then you have a much more cohesive way of actually wielding the Excalibur and making this magic work for you. And because we're talking about science, and it's just like any kind of chemistry, when things are left out, it cuts the doggone potions and whatever. And so that's the deal. We're still trained in a religious way to look at this stuff, and it's not religious as it is scientific. You see what I'm saying? This was scientific educational systems that we're looking at the wrong way, and I think we have to change the way we look at it. But there's also a spiritual way we have to look at it with direct application based on your own mind. We'll get into that also too in a few minutes. So I want to deal with these right now, so you know the whole deal. I call out, you go our shade, and give the power. So the first one is Zarabanda, who is the gateway to open. Zarabanda.
Ashe.
El Cristo Negro.
Ashe.
La Santísima Merete.
Ashe.
Mama Shola.
Ashe.
Simone.
Ashe.
La Santísima Pita Ema.
Ashe.
Las Spirituals and Travelers.
Ashe.
Padre de la Luna.
Ashe.
Francisco de Street Reyes.
Ashe.
Cristo Rey.
Ashe.
Padre de Agra.
Ashe.
Otincha.
Ashe.
Omagumu.
Ashe.
Sheola.
Ashe.
Tiacha.
Ashe.
Shumala.
Ashe.
And the other one is Kwakambo.
Ashe.
Kwakambo.
Ashe.
Kwakambo.
Ashe.
And we'll give you a list of these. We'll leave it behind or whatever thing. You just write them down if you want to before you get out of here and all that here. And these are some that you really want to deal with. We'll just settle with those right now. We usually give well, I guess I better go with the roll call right now. Get the energy going. So let's, I just do it out of my head. So, DB.
Ashe.
Kali.
Ashe.
Kalima.
Ashe.
Rudra.
Ashe.
Rudra Shiva.
Ashe.
Maddie.
Ashe.
Sadie.
Ashe.
Rashmi.
Ashe.
Isaiah.
Ashe.
Ewas.
Ashe.
Olas.
Ashe. Ashe.
Lucifer.
Ashe.
Yeah. Here y'all up. Like they say, in the Bible it says, Lucifer fell like the morning star. And by the time you get to the doggone end of Revelation, Jesus said, I am the morning star. You didn't understand that at the conference of Nicaea, they had to take the word Lucifer out of the Bible.
That's right.
And just give you one time you hear it and stuff, because you would put two and two together that Lucifer and Jesus is the same. As a matter of fact, the word Jesus is such a generic term and stuff, until Lucifer was a much more ancient primordial term. You see what I'm saying? So you got to understand those things. Let's go. Vishnu.
Ashe.
Kenchi.
Ashe.
Kemiti.
Ashe.
Rome.
Ashe.
Luthus.
Ashe.
Kimu.
Ashe.
Timothus.
Ashe.
Sophia.
Ashe.
Diana.
Ashe.
Pravati.
Ashe.
Sati.
Ashe.
Krishna.
Ashe. Ashe. Ashe.
Prometheus.
Ashe.
Dionysus.
Ashe.
Osa.
Ashe. Ashe.
Eru.
Ashe.
Nim.
Ashe.
Nimbus.
Ashe.
Nintu.
Ashe.
Nintu Sira.
Ashe. Ashe.
Ramanatu.
Ashe.
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 Okay, hold on. Get another roll. As they come. Shakina.
Ashe.
Da.
Ashe.
Killer.
Ashe.
Shakma.
Ashe.
Minor.
Ashe.
Shukra.
Ashe.
Shaka.
Ashe.
Yaseh. Ayakut.
Ashe.
Kalipas.
Ashe.
Croatia.
Ashe.
Olakun.
Ashe.
Olakun.
Ashe. Ashe.
Okay. Oshun.
Ashe.
Kenya.
Ashe.
Oya.
Ashe.
Orisha Oku.
Ashe.
Lepa.
Ashe.
Shango.
Ashe.
Oshun.
Ashe. Ashe.
Ishu.
Ashe.
Adjumbredi.
Ashe.
Okufaredi.
Ashe.
Okushengo.
Ashe.
Erzuli.
Ashe.
Edowedo.
Ashe.
Seka.
Ashe.
Rafi.
Ashe.
Azane.
Ashe.
Bridget.
Ashe.
Barasha.
Ashe.
Gede.
Ashe.
Papa
Ashe.
Gede. Hold on. Let's see. Got a little more. Just going to give a little more to you. Abbott.
Ashe. Ashe.
Heru Raha.
Ashe.
Hasefi.
Ashe.
Earth.
Ashe.
Hyphen.
Ashe.
Sunesi. Sunubin.
Ashe. Ashe.
Kunsu.
Ashe.
Yentu.
Ashe.
Lamayin. Ashahit. Unilis.
Ashe.
Ramanatu.
Ashe.
Hold on a minute. Let's see. Let's go on. Sebek.
Ashe.
Seker.
Ashe.
Kimuthis.
Ashe.
Kulukulu.
Ashe.
Akipa.
I say, 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 I say,
Nearly Hotel.
I say,
Yo Santo.
I say, I say,
Hold on a minute. Let him come. Hold on. On Chelsea.
I say,
Let's see. I'm gonna get a few more. Let's see. Cabbage.
I say,
Nepti.
I say,
Church.
I say,
Maya.
I say, 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 I say,
Nimada.
I say, I say,
Marasha.
I say,
Gargan.
I say, I say,
Hekati.
I say, I say,
Kundalini.
I say,
Eladion.
I say,
Olympus.
I say,
Perseus.
I say, I say, I say, I say, I say,
Gideon Lion.
I say,
Hold on. Apollo.
I say,
Aphrodite.
I say,
Ishtar.
I say,
Hold on. Astarte.
I say,
Eros.
I say,
Tahuti.
I say,
Anubis.
I say,
Hermanubis.
I say,
Hermes.
I say,
Hold on. Thunderdog.
I say,
Thunderbird.
I say, I say,
Manesra.
I say,
Root.
I say,
Sanetumura.
I say, 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 I say,
Kefra.
I say,
Scarab.
I say,
Mia.
I say, I say,
Okay, Hemmitt.
I say,
Hemmitt spirits.
I say,
Chachacha cheeks.
I say,
Kalippa.
I say, I say,
Boetia.
I say,
Hold on. I guess that's the sheep. Okay. I guess that's enough. To all God's known and unknown.
I say,
Okay, 1, 2, 3, start calling out your ancestors. 1, 2, 3, call them out.
Albert Hill, Betty Hill,
I
Roosevelt
shake,
Charles.
I shake, 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 I shake. Okay, Hemmitt family, Shaw family, Davis
I
family.
say, I say,
Yeah, so I guess somebody better watch, hold on to this, who pocketbook this is, you know. But anyway, I want to deal with these Congo rights. Now, like I was saying, some of these things get real saturated when they become in a religious form. And although you have the popularity of the West African religions, especially when you talk about Yoruba or Santeria, as you call it in the Caribbean and also in Latin America or whatever, this is very popular. There's only one problem with it. These things were never meant to be on a religious aspect. So basically, we've taken the same Christian model, and it's in our mind. We just changed the names of the deities. So instead of praying to Jesus or whatever, and you know, Christianity, they'll tell you Jesus, but they'll give you all these archangels.
yes.
You see what I'm saying? But they say we ain't into monotheism, or polytheism, and they give you all the damn archangels and stuff like that. The real key here is this thing here is in all actuality. The polytheism actually makes up the one God and the God one. E. Wallace Budge's book, 1935, From Fetish to God, in his last year he wrote Gods of the Egyptians 15 years early. His last book that he wrote, 35 years, 1935 of the year he died, he said, well, you know, I was wrong all the time. The Egyptians always worship one God and the God one. It's just they had a much more advanced system of worship in it, much more advanced system where you couldn't, God was too vague for you to just come and just say God. You know what I'm saying? That's like saying nothing at all. You understand? That's like saying ocean, but I want to drink. Not unless you put a cup in the damn ocean or whatever type thing and get the salt out or whatever, you ain't going to be drinking much water. So this thing has a breakdown it has a certain way, a certain scientific way it does to get to this particular high level of spirituality. So anyway, dealing with this, we have to change around what we are doing and all, because we're still looking at this thing as praying. And this is why this stuff is not actually working for us. First The unseen that we're talking about is also the inner. It's yourself. Now, one of the keys here that we need to deal with here is basically to get to the full power is, we understand it says in your book, even in the Bible, is it not written in the law that ye are gods, and the scriptures cannot be broken? Now, I know a lot of people have a problem with this, but there is a way. It is even in a book, Spiritual Hierarchies by Rudolf Steiner. Get your hands on that book, Spiritual Hierarchies by Rudolf Steiner. We've given out several texts. And in there they said that in the Egyptian mystery school, they would take the initiate along for about 30 years and have him praying to Osiris and all these omnipotent deities. And then on his 30th birthday, they would come in and say, guess what? The gods that you was praying to was nothing but the ancestors of old. And in actuality, you are one of the same lineage. Now, first of all, if we take Manetho says, when Manetho wrote to Philadelphus II, which was the person that said, we need a line of what Egypt is. We need to find out how old it is. Well, they didn't really give him the main timeline. He said, I'll put down something. And that book was named Sardis. It was interesting because we just started a collage of my tapes and stuff that was spread out all over the country. Sister Deborah back here, we came together about a year ago. And we started the Ark of Sardis, which is my tapes and other conscious tapes, but basically I had like hundreds of tapes that was all over the country. We put it in one major library, and the name of it is the Ark of Sardis. Sardis is also another name for Sirius, but it's the feminine name for the star Sirius, Sardis. Another name for Sirius, so the Ark of Sardis. And so we have that going, the main library and all that. So I want to put it on the tape. If the tape goes out, the number is 404-344-6862. And you can get your handouts from Sister Deborah when you leave and all. But dealing with that, the name of the book that was written by Manetho to give to the Greeks, to tell them for the first time what Egyptian history was a book called Sardis, which was named after the star Sirius. That will start rising somewhere on June 26th to July 25th when it reaches, 23rd when it reaches the meridian point, which is very key, especially this year when it rises, by this being the millennium, this year, 2001, not 2000 before.
Aquarius.
You see what I'm saying? This year, so when it rises this year, there's some serious stuff. So very key now, starting on June 26th to July 23rd this year, when it rises to the meridian point and stuff, a whole lot of shit don't go down because this is the millennium. Now, June 26th. June 26th to July 23rd. You see what I'm saying?
The new moon around that time, watch for that energy. That's going to lead into it.
You see, we're going to get deep into this also tonight and tomorrow when we do bouncing all of this. Bouncing all this back and forth. So now, one of the keys here is, when they asked him, well, how many pharaohs were they? He said, well, there was 500 pharaohs in the dynastic period, another 800 pharaohs in the pre-dynastic period. He said, and all that roughly added up to about 10,000 years. 8 to 10,000 years. They said, well, who used to rule before then? He said, that's when a whole bunch of gods used to rule. The mystery is the same gods that used to rule were later on the Egyptians in the physical bodies. The only difference between the gods that ruled in the primordial times compared to the people that was there in Kemet at that particular time is the vibration rate has become so dense until we took on physical bodies and lost massive amount of our actual senses. As far as our spiritual senses, down to 5 senses and stuff like that. So we got trapped in the physical matrix. And this is nothing that's the movie Matrix is nothing that the ancient Indians from Black India didn't say, was telling them from the get-go. The movie is nothing but the same thing. It is, the whole Sanskrit text talk about Maya, and this is all an illusion. And just about every single ancient document from the ancient world talks about this being an illusion. including the Bible sometimes, say this home is not my home. You know what I'm saying? I'm just passing by, and they talk about the carnal fleshes. We get all this stuff here. But that is just watered down versions of something on a greater reality, that this is only illusion. We'll go back to that in a few minutes. But one of the keys here, Rudolf Steiner in his book said that when the initiate got to that particular point, he said, damn, I've been worshiping these gods all these years. And now you mean to tell me that in actuality, that the ones that I used to worship used to be ancient ancestors, although they might have not been in the physical, but in actuality I am one of them? And in the book of Coming Forth by Day, the book of the Day, they say, I set up a ladder to the gods, but I am one of them. And I holler like the goose until they hear my prayer. And report it to Sirius. Well, it's interesting because it's about 4 or 5 times in the Bible they say that ye are gods. You see what I'm saying? Now, the key here is, you probably heard all this before, but now we have to make a stand now in the millennium. And what it is this. For whatever you do on the physical earth, we don't say, don't stop doing that. That means we don't tell you to go put on a big old robe and a cane and walk all down the damn street, you know what I'm saying, like you Moses or Jesus or whatever. And you know what I'm saying, you know, and some sandals and shit. We're not saying that. What we're saying here is in order for you to get to the next paradigm, you're going to have to make a difference, and you're going to have to make something, a different change than the average people out there. Why? It's because you have been allowed for somewhere in the last, let's say, 13, 14, 15 years. And some of you, because we have a conscious resurgence. We had one of them, we have them every 30 years. They had one in the 1930s, late 1920s. You know, start with Marcus Garvey, then over to Ali, Elijah Muhammad, C.M. Bay. And then, you had that particular golden age. You see what I'm saying? At the turn of the century, you had a few people. And the abolitionists, and they had people, including your boy that started the AME Church. Yeah. You think of Richard Allen and them, they would be equivalent of a Malcolm X, based on the time cycle. Somebody that's going to say African Methodist Episcopal Church. You see what I'm saying? That's right. That's right. You see that early. You see that would be equivalent. That's very radical. Yeah. So we have this resurgence of things going on. Then we have one in the doggone late 60s, early 70s. Go get the movie Cotton Comes to Harlem, because they got all the damn Kufis and all the African stuff right there in Cotton Comes to Harlem. You see what I'm saying? Before COINTELPRO came in and broke it down. So we know this swing started somewhere in the late 80s. The late 80s. Yeah. But nevertheless, they came by 1996. They came in with Christian fascism. And the only thing they had to do this time, they said, well, we know these black people have outlived just the whole aspect of just being obedient to God. We have to now match this with Christian prosperity. So this is the main thing. T.D. Jakes, Creflo Dollar, Fred Price, all these people, they just put up a $65 million doggone church on Crenshaw Boulevard. You see what I'm saying? And people are looking, saying, look at these idiots. They got one guy that bought the Forum. Yeah, I just saw that in the paper. The Los Angeles Forum did them practicing for it in all them years. Yeah. That's right. And the LA Lakers rolled out. You know what I'm saying? Somebody, these preachers done bought the Forum. And so now they in the preacher wars. One trying to outdo the other. You see what I'm saying? One trying to outdo the other. So when this guy purchased this $65 million church, Fred Price gets jealous. He said, I don't want no more Learjet. That's James Brown in the 70s. No, I gotta go get me a damn DC-10. I'm gonna go get me a dog Air Force One. So this thing is going out of hand, gotten out of hand. You see, so that's right. We have to understand at this particular time, on a critical time, what is this stuff all about, and what is the key, and what is the mystery. The mystery now is pretty much when you talk about humanity. Been there, done that, got a damn t-shirt. You have to draw a line on whether you are going to become God's generator, operator, or destroyer, key of what works. You see what I'm saying? What works? We know that we did the human thing for millions of years. And this is how energy works. You do something for millions of years, and the energy works for you. It's just like a child that's in childhood, a person that's in his his teenage years, and that works for that particular person. But then the energy moves into adulthood. And those things that you did in your teenage years, although you might be 30 or 40, you would be a laggard riding around on a goddamn Huffy at 10 speed. You know what I'm saying? Whatever teenagers do. You see what I'm saying, no?
That's right.
You know, you would be a laggard. You would be something that is basically outlived its function. You see, so humanity at this particular time is now becoming to its adulthood. And that adulthood is the mysteries of Christos, the Christ. There is something beyond this reality, but we don't want to give it to you in the whole thing of, when I get to heaven, I'm going to put on my shoes and walk all over God's heaven, milk and honey every day. You know what I'm saying? Sitting out in some damn cloud somewhere. What we're talking about here is creating a mutation into the next step of evolution. But it starts in the mind. Now, what are we talking about starting in the mind?
That's right.
If all of the ancient material says that man is supposed to basically transmutate, transform, metamorphosize into a new being, a new soul, a new spirit. You see what I'm saying? We understand that we are on the verge of that, but the key here is, in the movie The Matrix, they say, look at the spoon. Don't try to bend the spoon. That's impossible.
Right.
The real mystery, there is no spoon. Just bend your mind around the spoon and the spoon will bend. Well, it's the same thing with your mind now. The same thing with your mind now. You have to start thinking like deities.
All right.
This is the key.
I share.
Now, what does Godzilla give a damn about Valentine's Day? You understand what I'm saying? I'm talking about, what does Godzilla give a damn whether you wear white after Labor Day?
Bring it down.
You see what I'm saying? Or any human custom. We've been there, we've done that. We got thousands of forms of what we think is right and wrong in humanity, but we're not thinking like gods.
All right. I share.
Or deities. You see? And this is the mystery of what the mystery system was talking about. Now, we did the historical thing. But did the Egyptians learn history? What did the Egyptians think about? That's the key.
The afterlife.
The afterlife, illumination, metamorphosis. They wasn't thinking about history.
They was thinking.
They was living history. But what is the mystery? What is the education here? Now, we got to understand here, and we got to understand that we have to really focus on this, because we know that if we think this is bull, only thing you got to do is, every block, these white people got lodges.
That's right.
And they ain't up in there sipping no tea.
No.
Drinking no liquor and driving no cab.
Thank you.
You understand what I'm saying? They up in there getting down with the serious education.
All right.
You see what I'm saying? And the education that they're getting down with don't resemble nothing in this college or any other college.
Right.
University. They're getting down with something on a grand scale.
Right.
And one thing they do when the initiates go over. This is one thing I do know by even being in Dr. Men's home.
That's right.
Masonic order. With the night that the white initiates go over, they go and they get a black man.
That's right.
They set the black man in front of the initiates. And they tell them, this is your father. This is your God.
That's right.
You must always keep him down.
That's right. That's right.
You see. So, you best believe
Yes.
on November the 7th, what is the election? The 7th? No, what was it?
First Tuesday.
It's the 7th.
It was the 7th, I think. That when they got ready to pick the president and that whole thing shut down,
Hey.
you best now believe that was based on no mistake.
That's right. That's right.
You see, they knew there were several things that had to happen. They understood that Mercury was in retrograde.
That's right.
And they understood that anything when Mercury's in retrograde you don't do because it's a binding contract, and any binding contract will dissipate
That's right.
or will disintegrate. They knew that. They also knew that there's a great black hole in space. We've been talking about this for the longest.
That's right.
They didn't show it on Nightline. But the black hole was coming from the area of Sagittarius.
That's right. That's right.
So they understood that they didn't want to do anything at a critical point between November the 7th until they started it back on December the 12th when they made the decision that they was going to go ahead with it.
That's right.
On December the 12th, that's 12/12, which is 144, which is the number of the apocalypse.
Yeah.
You see? So, if you don't think that they're not dealing with this thing on an esoteric level, you crazy.
Yes, right. You are.
You see what I'm saying?
That's right.
You know, we're the only people walking around here thinking that every day is every day, and it's just 1982. You know what I'm saying? I get up and I go to work. You know what I'm saying? And everything is, you know what it is. And the white boy tell you, you gotta go get a computer, you go get a computer. He tell you about mutual funds, now you talking about mutual funds. Who gives a damn?
That's right. Thank you.
You know, you talking about mutual funds. You talking about, so he's gonna tell you that the greater society tell you where to move and you move, and you don't understand that we're talking about something on a greater level. Now, going back to this, then, what do? We have to make the decision because we understand one thing, that this is the millennium. They had the entire world partying on the whole fake millennium.
That's right. That's
And you know, they showed them. I said, damn, how did they get the ancient people to agree on the damn calendar that these people say is legitimate? Even you got Chinese people that their calendar is about, what, 2005 now?
Yeah.
Which is one of the closest ones on modern calendars, close to the original one. And how did they get them to agree to go put some damn fireworks and all that stuff and blow, you know, and all this stuff they did on 2000. And everybody partied on 2000. And then the real millennium came in and nobody did anything. It was quiet.
That's right.
2001 was nothing other than the ball dropping and old crazy ass Muhammad Ali hugging dog on Giuliani. You know, they done made a monster out of him and a mockery out of him. And we don't even understand. I think I mentioned this the last time. The only reason why they're even showing Muhammad Ali is because they want to show you the monster that they made.
That's
They're not
right.
interested in his past. White people hated Muhammad Ali, doggone. You know, 20, 30 years ago when he stood up.
That's
You know what I'm saying? Until after they fed him the damn rat poison.
That's right.
Until after they gave him the lobotomy to Richard Pryor.
All right. All
And
right.
all of them got similar same thing. Richard Pryor in a damn wheelchair now.
That's right.
Two of the biggest mouths in the doggone 70s, raising hell and still dealing with the consciousness when the consciousness had dissipated, you see what I'm saying, into just basically us partying.
Yes.
And isn't it ironic that those two same figures that was actually dealing with consciousness through the comedy and through his fights, Muhammad Ali, they all in a wheelchair all messed up now.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? Yeah. So my point is, so other than him kissing Giuliani, now he done went from telling some white British man up there saying, look, your brain is too small compared to mine. I dare you to challenge me. And he had that doggone white British man from Oxford shaking in his damn seat.
Yes. Yes.
Here's a man with virtually a high school education. You see what I'm saying? And he said, I dare you to challenge me. Your brain cannot doggone take my mind. And he had that British man shaking in his seat. Mr. Oxford, Mr. Cambridge. Now how did he go from that to hugging doggone Giuliani? You see, because they made a monster out of him because of what they did. The point is, the new millennium, the real millennium went quiet. But all the stuff is going down now.
Yes, it is. Yes.
All the stuff is going down now. We'll go back to this God thing in a minute, but we want to deal with some things because they got an incident that's going on in Atlanta where they got these black people, this black church, and they got corporal punishment, which could mean, you know, you go down, you know what your mama used to tell you, you go out there and pick that damn switch.
Yes.
And so you come back with spit, she cut your ass with it. No, now, you go to jail for that. So what used to be just a normal ass whipping, because that's a thin line between abuse. A person that's going to abuse a person is going to abuse them any damn way. You understand? So they're trying to confuse you with the abuse thing. You understand what I'm saying? But what they're calling abuse now is that if you got a weapon on your hand, you see what I'm saying? You know your mama put them weapons on your behind. The child can pick up the phone and call the cops. Or call defects, but they call it, it's defects here. It's called defects in Atlanta. And they come in there and bust it and take the child. So now they came in last week, the police came in beating these children, beating them over the head with a club, took one little boy, threw him in the wall, bumped his head on the wall, locked him up, put him in handcuffs. And they're supposed to be taking the child, rescuing the child from so-called abuse. And yet they're abusing them and got them handcuffed and throwing them all in the car and beating them down. We're talking about children 11 and 7 or something like that. You see, so my point here is they have different things like the sister saying, they changing up the doggone laws. You see what I'm saying? What is slavery? You see, we need to ask that question.
That's right.
What is slavery? And are we slaves? So now, going back to that, we're at a critical time right now in the millennium. Now, what's the difference between what you've been saying, Bobby, for the last 9 years and what you're saying now? Now the difference is we laid down the science, but now we actually have the juice to apply with the science. So what happened was we had to lay down all these laws on what we do to change a new way of living, a new reality. But we had to wait till the cycle matured enough where the energy is here. Where the energy is here. Now the energy is here.
I share.
The second day of the millennium, I started metamorphosizing. Physical body going through different changes. All types of things started actually happening. Now, you know, it's amazing. Now, I can tell a damn lie. And an hour later, the shit come true.
Yes.
Or you can have I'm telling you. This is what we're dealing with now. We're dealing with a highly advanced science. Or you can think of something in your head, and 2 days down the road, it comes true. So what we're talking about, what the ancient Canaanites or the ancient Egyptians was talking about, and all these cycles and stuff, whereas you think it and it is. You ever hear the books Think and Grow Rich? And you think it, well, you would think you'd have to work on the thought for years because the cycle was so dense until if you thought about it, eventually you wouldn't get it because that is a science. Think and grow rich and you can perceive it. You know, cliche, you can perceive it, you can believe it, you can achieve it. But these are actual universal laws that will apply. What I'm telling you now is what used to take an estimated goal of how many years, 4 years, 5 years, 10 years, you say, oh, sure, work hard. Now you can do this shit in a matter of days. Because the cycle is now here. We're talking about the verge of a new reality. And if you think this is crazy, it's because somebody's convinced you that this shit don't work.
That's right. That's right.
You see what I'm saying? So I said, you know my gas getting ready to get cut off. You know these gas bills. Well, it didn't matter because even when the gas bill was low, my shit would be on the verge of getting cut off. So I can use that excuse now. You know, the gas is real high and my gas might be cut off. But 2 years ago, you see when the gas was low, my stuff was about to get cut off. So I said, you know, the gas bill, I said, you know what, I'm putting it out there. You all got the doggone not turn my gas off, and I mean that. You know. And then about 2 days later, I asked one of the spiritual seers, I said, my gas didn't turn off yet. He said, they're going to turn your shit off on Thursday. I said, what the hell is going on here? What the hell is going on? Didn't I ask you all, didn't I tell you all not to turn off my gas? I'm talking about these entities.
Yes, yes.
And they say, well, something you're doing wrong. But one of these entities up in here I had identified was myself.
Okay.
And then in the middle I said, oh, okay then. I'm telling my higher self then it ain't get cut off. And he said, okay, now we can get the ball rolling. Now I can work. Now I can go to work. Because the other entities can only work through me, your higher self. You see what I'm saying? So you have to tell your higher self, because we're talking about you being the battery.
That's right.
Now, dealing with this science, and dealing with this, you have two systems going on here. You have what is called the seraphonic system. These are the entities that is outside of you that you've been taught to pray to. Then you have the cherubonic system or the chthonic system. These are the entities that's on the inside of you, which is the direct power of you becoming what you want. You will Excalibur. You walk through the walls if you want to. You do whatever you want if you can fix your mind to deal with it. These ones are in you. It's just this one thing that went on. The cherubonic, the seraphonic system of the entities that's outside of you, these elemental forces that govern the universe, did a trick, a cosmic joke. All of the entities of the stuff of these batteries are what they call the archetype of the collective unconsciousness in Jungian psychology. There's a book, The Archetype of the Collective Unconsciousness by Jung, big thick book.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? There's another book called The Beginner's Guide to Revelations by Robin Robertson. And it's talking about these archetypes. You see, the cosmic joke is the reason why you didn't have access to it, because about 2,000 years ago, everything that was the archetype in the inner realm that governed the universe, that governed your life on this planet so you can move about and create your own reality, about 2,000 years ago, or starting a little earlier than that, all of that stuff was turned into evil.
Yes.
Yeah, makes sense.
So this shuts you down to the point where as all of the stuff that was quintessential for you to become the entity was turned into evil. So we talk about the word Damien, which means one's own hidden genius. You see what I'm saying? You get the word demon that you get scared of. You get the word genius, then you get the word jinn that you are scared of. You see? So these particular science of what they call the archetypes were turned into something negative to shut you down. To shut you down. So what it is, religion, you see, has shut down your rise. Because you're giving all your energy to some entities that in actuality, their main goal is to keep you down. So we're not talking about some spooked out stuff, we're talking about just a matter of trying to locate the right science. You know, they say we're trying to locate your body. This is a trace pill. We're trying to locate your body in the matrix. You see what I'm saying? Trying to locate your body in the matrix. The cosmic joke here is that the inner workings of the stuff that rises you to another level 2,000 years ago was all turned into Satanism, all turned into black magic, all turned into these negative connotations, including the ultimate mystery of the universe, the feminine principle we're going to get into today, that even a man is a woman.
All
We're
right.
not talking about homosexuality. We're saying that what they call spirit, period, is feminine.
That's right. That's right.
Okay.